Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Jack from the Cardboard Herald, and the episode that you're about to listen to is a bunch of stitched together mini interviews taken from the PAX Unplugged 2018 show floor. I had a blast at the convention, and I have a whole lot more coverage coming, including a couple more podcast episodes, including one really big, awesome group interview done with Sean Epperson of Thing 12 Games, Carla and Nick Kopp of Weird Giraffe Games, and David Smith of Winsmith Games, as well as Rob Conley of Ginger Cat Productions. And then there's all kinds of videos and all sorts of other stuff. Just stay tuned. You can go to the video channel or our website and check out all that stuff. I just wanted to give you a heads up about this. Also, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Rob Conley and Robert Doremus for being such huge helps throughout the con, helping with a ton of the video and audio recording, as well as giving feedback on editing and making things look and sound superb. So shout out to them, and hope you guys enjoy the episode. If you have any questions or want to give feedback about how to cover conventions in the future, we'd love to hear it. Hit the contact link at the top of cardboardherald.com. Here's the show. Okay, for you in the podcast audience, I have returning guest to the Cardboard Herald, Eddy Webb. This is awesome meeting you in person, man.
Yeah, it's been great actually face to face. I mean, I love doing the interviews online, but also actually seeing people is really, really exciting.
Yeah, this is my second time at PAX. This is your first time at PAX. And so the first thing I wanted to know, have you gotten to check out anything, or have you been strictly at the Onyx Path booth?
I have managed to walk around a little bit, but mostly it's been kind of, talking to people about the new games coming out. I'm also at the demo table a lot. I have the 8 to midnight shift, so I have late shift tonight, so it's going to be fun. But I mean, the show overall, it's just incredible. It almost has like a Gen Con vibe to it, and just how big the dealer's hall is, how excited people are, even though it's brand new people to the show.
Now, Monarchies of Mao is the biggest game that you have out, or I guess the game that just came out, the sequel to Pugmire. And what do you really think is unique and different about this one that might draw people in who maybe already picked up Pugmire and they're like, I don't know that I need a reskin of Pugmire?
Fair enough. I mean, obviously, there's the playing the cats part, obviously. But the other thing is that it's a nice kind of stealth expansion of Pugmire. There's almost entirely new monsters in there. There's almost entirely new spells in there. So if you want new spells, new monsters, it's a great port for that. But aside from that, there's a dynamic difference. One of them is in Pugmire, if you find a magical item and you attune it to yourself, as you go up in level, your item gets more powerful. But for cats, they actually have to destroy them. And then the power becomes a part of their character, which they can then level up. So there's this kind of tension between dogs trying to preserve objects, cats try to just destroy them, which makes things really interesting if you mix those two groups together.
What was the hardest thing to develop or design or capture in this game that you felt was important to honoring cats as like a distinct animal and species? I'm sure that you have loved many cats throughout your life.
Oh, absolutely. I've been owned by many cats in the course of my life. But definitely Pugmire was kind of almost a classic fantasy game in the sense that it's about the group. It's like, you have the cleric, and you have the fighter, and you have the werewolf, or the barbarian. Werewolf, woo! Different game. But in Monarchies of Mao, there is a kind of individual streak that we associate with cats, both as owners and also just kind of ideologically, cats are much like loner animals. So I had to find a way to kind of make that work without making it full player versus player dynamic. There's still a group, they still have to work together. So there's been some tweaks in there, like I said, all the you can't share items as easily as we can with dogs. But on the flip side, mechanically, cats have slightly less stamina points. Their powers aren't as effective individually, but they do get more benefit with the group. So it's a kind of, with dogs, it's I can make you cooler and you can make me cooler. It's very much kind of reciprocal, helping each other out. With the cats, it's more along the lines, by being near me, everybody else gets cooler. So I'm awesome, and you're also not as awesome as me, but more awesome because you're near me. So it allows still for group play, but it's more like splash effect rather than directed, I'm going to help you out directly.
Sounds really cool, man. What other things have you been like personally designing or developing or working on?
We just wrapped up a couple months ago the Kickstarter for Dystopia Rising. I was the lead developer for the second edition of that game, and that was really fun. I'm also been helping out with Steve Kenson. We just finished up the second draft of the manuscript for Aberrant for Trinity, which is their kind of near future superhero game. Lots of kind of complicated politics in there. And I mean, there's other stuff, we have like Scions coming out, and we've been working on what we're going to do for the next stage of Scion now. The core books are coming out for that. We have a whole bunch of other 5th edition projects and Scarred Lands and other things we're looking at possibly doing. There's just a lot going on. It's like every day I'm always working on something new, which I love.
Have there been any games that have come out recently, let's say within the last year or so, that you feel have been an influence on you or has made a big impact in either the thematic incorporation in the game, or maybe it's something purely mechanical, just something that really stuck with you?
Actually, there's been a great deck building game I saw a couple months ago called Havenfall. It's by Bellico Games, I want to say. But it's an 8-bit kind of very Nintendo-ish game where you're making characters, you're trying to fight monsters. But there's this great kind of semi-cooperative, semi-competitive component where you can work together because you try and destroy the monsters for the kingdom, but also you want to destroy more monsters better than your friends are. And each deck you have starts off playing differently, and then it kind of... There's a nice balloon effect where it starts off, each game is distinct. The deck then balloons as you deck builds to like relatively equivalent, but then the end game collapses into a very specific play style. So there's this the decks themselves change a little bit in style as you play through the game, which I think is really, really interesting and compelling.
You've designed and developed so many different role-playing game systems, and they've had wildly different themes ranging from dogs and cats to dystopian futures to the X-Men. So is there any sort of nugget or germ of an idea where you're like, oh, that would be an interesting setting to put an RPG system into that you've kind of set along the back burner that you might be working on in the next couple of years?
So I've always been a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. And I've always felt that there are a ton of games about Sherlock Holmes, but none of them have been quite what I think needs to happen. So I've always had ideas of how to do a Sherlock Holmes game that is respectful of the canon, but also is fun and engage people who aren't necessarily interested in reading 125-year-old fiction. So
how dare they?
Right, exactly. It's like, how dare you disrespect this? But I mean, especially with the rise of steampunk, and also, Sherlock Holmes as a character is becoming very popular with the Sherlock series and Elementary and the like. I feel like there's room for that, but I have a bunch of notes. I'm still kind of kicking around. Maybe I'll put out a game in the future, but it's something I'm personally very fascinated by.
As am I. Well, thank you so much, Eddy, for coming back onto the show, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the con and seeing you at future conventions.
Absolutely. Hope you have a great PAX.
Thanks, man. All right, everyone. I'm here with Ariel Barkhurst of White Wizard Games. How's the con going, Ariel?
Oh, it's going great. We've had full demo tables all day.
Yeah, so tell me all about, what is the hotness at White Wizard Games that people are really coming out to see?
So there's a couple of different answers to that question. Our most recent release that is something you can purchase here at the con is Star Realms Frontiers, which is a Star Realms game for 1 to 4 players, which is different. Our previous Star Realms releases were 2-player games. This one has multiplayer and solo modes, as well as co-op. So there's that, which a person could buy. Sorcerer is coming out next year, and we're demoing that, and that's a dark fantasy dueling game.
Dark fantasy. What are the characteristics of dark fantasy that people should be looking out for?
It's got vampires and wizards in a Victorian London, foggy kind of setting,
That's awesome. So it's my understanding this is your first convention as part of White Wizard. How's that going?
It's good. I'm getting a lot of questions I don't know the answers to, specifically about how much everything costs. So I'm memorizing that stuff.
How did you get this gig? Did you just stumble into it? Are you an avid gamer? What was the trajectory?
I love games. I have for many years. I used to work at Steve Jackson Games, the makers of Munchkin. So I moved from one company that makes a card game with many, many expansions and many, many fans to another company that has the same deal.
So you are no stranger to conventions. You're just in a new capacity here.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, well, what is the next year? You've already mentioned an upcoming game. Like, what are the big ticket things that people should be excited about with White Wizard Games in the future and keeping their eyes on?
Right now, we have a Kickstarter going on, Hero Realms Journeys. It is for 6 expansions for Hero Realms, and that will also come to retail whenever it fulfills, which would be probably in a year-ish after it closes. But, I'm not totally sure of that. We won't be sure of that until it closes, right? And that's in the final days right now. And then next year will be Sorcerer.
Well, that's great to hear. Thank you so much for coming on to the Cardboard Herald, Ariel.
Yeah, of course.
All right, I am here in Unpub with Julia Nazario. Julio, this is unbelievable, man. How's the convention going?
It's going really well, Jack. I've got a couple of pitches and some great play tests. People are enjoying my game so far.
Well, we got a chance to check out some of your stuff, and we'll have that up on the video channel for sure. But I would just want to know what cojones someone has to make a dexterity-based dance revolution, dice revolution, music monstrosity. Tell me about dice revolution.
Well, a lot of people start off their designs with mechanics first, theme first, and some other stuff in between. But in this one specifically, when I thought of the name Dice Revolution, I said, I gotta design this game. So I already had a base with the dice, and I always like to use the box as part of the game. The box is the most important component of the game because it protects the game, but it's not really used that much. So in this game, you are scoring your dice, you're sliding them into the box and scoring them inside the box. It's a very simple, but you use music as a timer in a real-time dexterity. And it's not just a timer. You use the songs. Each song has a different way of how you do your dexterity element.
That's awesome. What did you do for the music in this? Did you commission some music? Can you program whatever music the player, the purchaser wants? What's your angle on this? I'm a music guy, so I got to dissect this.
Yeah, of course. Since I focus on pitching games, I always want to have a proof of concept. So I just use songs based on the Dance Revolution IP. Of course, one thing that is never going to be used unless publisher gets the IP, but it proves that the game works with what it is. And if the publisher picks it up, they can put whatever song it works fits with the game.
Do you have any of your buds from game designers in North Carolina here, or are you flying solo representing North Carolina yourself?
Oh, no. We've got I think around 5 more designers here. We've got Daniel Solis, we got James Myers, we got Mark McGee, and we've also got Graham Russell.
One of my favorite things about Unpub and about the game design community in general is that it's so supportive and mutually helpful, tons of feedbacks, tons of actionable criticism that is constructive. And I guess what I'd like to know about is, what benefits have you directly received from being part of these game design associations?
Well, one of the things that is really hard for designers when you're playtesting a game is getting playtests done, especially with people that have that design mindset. It's always great to have just people that like to play games play your game, but you want to have playtests that have that feedback involving the design aspect of the game. And when it comes to having being part of a group of designers, you get to playtest the game so much and get feedback and get things done faster.
Julio has 2 games signed right now. He has won the HABA Game Designers, I guess it's a Game Designers contest. You got some award. What game did you submit for that?
That was also a dexterity game. It's called Cheap Rescue. It is a very simple game. It just uses 10 component pieces. Because in the HABA Design Contest, they send you a pack of pieces, and you have to design using some of those parts. And HABA uses a lot of wooden components because that's their thing. So I wanted to do a game that just used components. No printed components. It was just a dexterity game for a family, very family weight. So in that game, what makes it different is that it uses a slider component, which is a wheel that you use to push the components and they slide along the table.
For so many accomplishments in such a short time, it's really amazing, because earlier we were talking, you were telling me that you've only been doing this for just under a year and a half. So what got you into game design, and what were you doing before that?
Well, I mean, game design is just my hobby. I just love doing it. I'm a civil engineer by trade, so a lot of the components and box usage comes from that engineering mind. But I basically just had an idea for a game. I work for National Forest in North Carolina, and I was walking around with a forester, and he's talking about all these different types of trees: yellow pine, red maple, black walnut. And I'm like, all these trees have color associated with them. There's a game in here somewhere. And at the time, I'm still new at board games in general. I've only been playing board games for almost 4 years, I guess. I thought, there's something in here. I'll check it out. And then listening to podcasts, watching videos, it's kind of a fast way to learn about the industry and how it works.
Dedicated to the trade. What was the game that got you hooked?
Got me hooked. Oh man, that's a hard one. I guess the first game that I ever bought, this is really random, it was Pixel Tactics 2 by Level 99 Games. I really enjoyed it, and being from Puerto Rico, there's not really a big board game community there. It still isn't. So I knew about Clue and Monopoly and all that. But I just saw that game, and that's when I first searched Board Game Geek for reviews. I've always been a video gamer, so I always kind of know about games. And I saw all these different types of games, and I'm like, wow, there's so many games out there. I gotta watch out what's good and what's bad and buy some more.
You have so many different themes accounted for in your games, and just earlier you were talking about walking through the forest and thinking about what game can I attach to all these different trees, species. Is there a particular type of theme that you wanted to really work into a game that you're still trying to figure out what that game is?
That's a bad one, because I always try to when I get a theme in mind, I always find a way to implement it. With Dice Revolution, it was definitely a far-fetched idea to get it implemented, and I got it there. But I do like the nature type themes, and they're coming up a lot in recent designs. But so far, when I get an idea for a theme, I kind of implement it. So I don't have one right now on the top of my head.
All right, man. Well, you got so many things coming up on the horizon. I know that we're going to be hearing more from you, and I'm so glad that I got a chance to talk to you at the convention. I really wish you luck with the pitches and the rest of the day, and with all of the great feedback that you're going to get here in the Unpub room.
Thanks, Jack, and keep doing a great work on the Cardboard Herald. I really enjoy the podcast.
I'm here at PAX Unplugged 2018, Day 3, the exhaustive end of the great convention. I'm here with Adam and Adam of Game to Grow. How's the con going, guys?
It has been absolutely spectacular. We got to team up with Table Titans. We got to get a hoodie out to a lot of people that look really cool. And we got to speak on so many panels this con. It's been really wonderful.
We had 6 panels all in all across the 3 days. So the first day I was on 3 panels, and then 2 the second day, and only 1 panel today, which has been awesome. It's been a lot of talking to people, and as an introvert who's doing a lot of talking to people, I'm finding my reserves are pretty low at this point. But it's been all in all, we've had an amazing turnout. People have come to our table excited about the work that we're doing. We've had people donate and show their support in lots of different ways, and it's been really exciting to see the impact of the work that we're doing in the community.
Totally. Well, let's pretend that the audience at home is as ignorant as I was on day 1 of this con about what Game to Grow is, and can you guys give kind of like your nutshell of what you guys do and where you do it?
Absolutely. So Game to Grow is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to using games of all kinds for therapeutic, educational, and community growth. Primarily what we do is we play Dungeons & Dragons with kids and teens, helping them build social skills and become more confident, creative, and socially capable people.
We have historically been doing this kind of work. Adam and I have been doing this kind of work for about 8 years. We founded Game to Grow last year, but we ran a for-profit company before that, and then have been doing this work for a few years before that. So we've been using Dungeons & Dragons with some modified rules for a while, and now we're really trying to get it out into more schools, more communities out there in the world, where we're doing some trainings, we're talking to teachers, we're helping more people play games better.
So did this start out as you guys being gamers who went into some sort of social services, or did this start out as social services of people who decided, you know what, I think these game things might be a great way of reaching these kids struggling in various ways?
Both and more. So we started off working for another organization in the Seattle area, and I sort of fell into it. I was in grad school at the time studying drama therapy, getting my master's in education, and then I was looking for some little extra side work to get some more experience, and somebody said, do you know anything about Dungeons and Dragons? Because there's this sort of after-school evening program for quirky kids. And I said, yes, of course, I'll be happy to participate in that. And then when I took the group over, it had historically not been played with any sort of intention. It was just kind of a place for some kids to play Dungeons and Dragons. But then I was studying drama therapy at the time and realized that Dungeons and Dragons is largely a great framework for sit-down drama therapy. You've got kids playing characters. The characters are often extensions of their own needs and their own experiences that can really be a useful framework for gaining some insight and gaining some new skills. So then I started using the drama therapy work in the setting that I was in, and then realized this is like crazy powerful opportunity to change the world with this thing we already know and love. And then I brought Adam on as a new facilitator because my then facilitator left. And then he and I were like meeting of the minds. We're both named Adam. We both love dice. We both have similar life experiences that bring us together in great teamwork. And then we left that organization to sort of grow this thing into something that we wanted to be bigger than just the two of us could do, which is why we're now in Philadelphia all the way from Seattle.
I remember Adam came up to me. We had done a sort of culture project in grad school where we kind of each identified each other as geeks across the room with that nod and everything. And then after the class, Adam comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, do you want to come and play Dungeons and Dragons and get paid and play with quirky kids?" And I was like, yes, that's my dream job. Of course I want to do that. And it's been an amazing journey figuring out how we can craft the game, how we can use it in this really intentional way to help these socially isolated and quirky kids build social skills and build friendships and build connections with other people. It's just incredible to watch the power that it's had.
And how do you typically get connected to these kids? How are people being referred to your services and actually accessing them?
We actually don't have to do a lot of advertising. We did a little bit early on, but most of our community has been coming back again and again and again. One of the cool things about Dungeons and Dragons is that kids like to play it. So we don't have a hard time getting kids to continue coming to groups. We actually have a 95% return rate, which is pretty awesome for a lot of kids who've been in therapy for most of their lives, and they have not really had a lot of success in therapy because a lot of the therapy groups that they've been in have been sort of direct instruction. Like, I'm going to teach you how to make eye contact, but they don't have any inherent rewards for making eye contact. That's just an uncomfortable thing they're never really having a context for. But now we have a pro-social game that they love coming to. So we've had parents say, this is the only time my kid looks forward to leaving the house, is to come to a social enrichment group. And that's a huge sign of growth for some of these kids to actually want to interact with their peers. That's been amazing.
I had one really isolated player who came to the group one day and said, "This is my third place," which meant this is like outside of his home and his work, which he didn't have any work, school, but outside of his home, and he was homeschooled actually. Outside of his home, this was basically the place that he liked to call home. This was the place where he felt comfortable, that he wanted to go to in order to interact with the people that he cares about. And that was just such an amazing progress for him to make, to want to go somewhere where he's growing and getting a chance to be challenged, but also doing it through the game in such a way that it's so fun that he wants to come back every week.
So are the kids that you're working with primarily kids who have been experiencing some sort of trauma in their life, or is it children who have intellectual or mental challenges or barriers that they're working to overcome? Like, what are the backgrounds of the children that you're working with, or does it just go across the entire gamut?
We don't have a requirement for a diagnosis, but most of the kids that are in our groups have some sort of relationship with autism, ADHD, anxiety, depression, some sort of social setback where they have trouble making friends. And sometimes we have some kids with medical needs they have more doctor's visits in the year than there are days in the year. And that just comes with some social setbacks. You don't have the opportunity to make friends. So a lot of the way we think about it is these kids have lagging social skills. They're not broken, they're not deficient, they're just a little bit behind. So we want to meet them where they're at and help them with this game, help them along the road to where they can really build the skills necessary to relate to other people and interact in a pro-social way.
We really like to take as much of a strengths-based approach and as much of a positivity approach for all of our players at the table, and really try to encourage them, recognizing that they have the power to build these skills, they have the power to learn these new ways of interacting, and through a game they get a chance to really feel motivated, really feel a strong reason for why they need friendships or why they need to build strong connections. And when that inside joke at the table that makes everybody laugh comes up, and they get a chance to connect on that very human level, they get a chance to really go, man, this is really worthwhile for me to put the effort into to overcome the challenges that are in front of me in order to be more social.
That's incredible, and this sounds like such a fantastic program. So for the people listening at home, what can they do to better support Game to Grow?
We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so we do accept donations from anywhere in the world. You can find out more about that at gametogrow.org/support. We accept donations through PayPal on our Facebook page, and through our CauseVox, which you can find at gametogrow2018.causevox.com. Adam and I both have fundraiser pages, and we're competing to see who can raise more money.
We also, we just generally appreciate, a big part of our mission is getting people to spread the word about how games can be good for you, and about how games can be powerful and positive impacts in your life. So even just talking about Game to Grow with other people, posting about it to your social media, your Facebook, telling your friends and family about it goes a really long way. It really helps support us because it lets people know both that we exist and about the power of games to bring people together and to make positive change within all of our lives.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are making that positive change, and I'm so thankful for everything that you do and thankful that you took the time to talk with me. Thank you, Adam and Adam of Game to Grow.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our coverage of PAX Unplugged 2018, and I am here with Matthew Kroll, the convention manager for Greater Than Games. How's the con going, Matthew?
Oh, it's going well. It's a long weekend for us.
Yeah, it certainly has been a long weekend for, I think, everyone here. It's a very exciting convention, but also I know we've been exhausted. What have you been working on here at the Greater Than Games demo room?
So we play things a little loose here. So this has mostly been about swapping tables for what's popular. It's hard to tell with a convention on the East Coast for board games what people are going to be interested in. Because we're from the Midwest, we go to Gen Con and Origins and things like that, and we know exactly what those people want. And Philly's a new demographic for us. So they want completely different games than we're used to demoing. So we've been hot swapping tables in and out as needed.
You may know, and the audience may know, I always love doing interviews trying to get some of the behind the scenes information. I noticed that Greater Than Games is one of the few outlets here who actually has like a dedicated room to yourselves. Was that a high priority for this convention? Is that something that you guys normally do? And was that difficult to score here?
Difficult to score? No, because everything is fixable with money. It is a priority for us at this show because all of our games that are very popular right now are long demos. So Spirit Island runs 90 minutes to 2 hours. We have Sentinels RPG, which is a 3-hour full session of an RPG, and Oblivion, which is the final expansion for Sentinels of the Multiverse, is a long semi-campaign mode, so that runs about 3 hours-ish as well. So having people stand in a booth to do a 3-hour demo is just cruel. So we got tables and chairs.
How often are you getting casual audience coming in who maybe aren't familiar with your guys' products, and are they testing the games themselves, and what's been the response?
Oh, absolutely. So yesterday we actually nixed one of our Oblivion tables entirely and just ran core Sentinels of the Multiverse because people were completely unaware of the game, and which is strange for us. It came out 7-8 years ago, and we have been running demos of this for the entire length of Greater Than Games. It was Greater Than Games' first game, and we still have demand now here. Whereas at other conventions, everybody's seen it. Everybody that goes to Gen Con has seen that game. But here, we have a whole new set of people that are interested in starting this experience, the superhero experience. As well as, we're getting a lot of young folks interested in Spirit Island, which looks way heavier than it is, so you get a lot of hardcore gamers in, but it's reached a level of popularity now that more casual gamers, who are more casual because they have kids, are coming in and sitting down with their teenage children to learn Spirit Island and also the RPG. Obviously is flavor or is age acceptable. So like, we have a lot of people that normally couldn't play games of these weights interested in our games because we like co-ops, and it's easy to play with your kids when it's a co-op.
My kid's 3.5. What do you think? Like 2 more years?
I would say 7-ish more years minimum, but for the RPG, maybe not.
Yeah, that's very true. RPGs are a great way of introducing gaming and the kind of concepts that come with gaming to kids. Now, the other thing that I wanted to ask about, with you being in the unique position of convention manager, is there a different vibe to this convention? Not just the East Coast versus Midwest or maybe West Coast difference, but just general attitude or the type of audience that's coming in. Is there something unique about PAX Unplugged compared to, say, Gen Con or Origins?
Yes, because you have a lot of people that come to this convention because they are video gamers who have gone to PAX East, PAX Prime, PAX South, what have you, who just want to come to another PAX because they put on a really fun show, and who are now just getting into board games because they happen to come here or happen to see a tabletop area section of PAX East or PAX Prime and now say, that was fun, let's do a whole convention of that. So it's a ton of people that have really never played board games before spending money to come to a convention that is strictly about board game and tabletop gaming and RPGs.
Have you guys been able to show off any greater than game secrets in this room?
So during the Spirit Island tournament on Saturday, we during the final round, we like to keep things secret, and we actually had people play spirits from the upcoming Jagged Earth expansion that are still obviously not finalized or anything like that, but we got some art and got some boards made up, and we did that at Gen Con too, but we had 2 new spirits for that game. So yeah, some people, we had a nice crowd of people just trying to get a peek at what's coming up in the Jagged Earth expansion.
That's awesome. And for the audience at home, if you're interested in Jagged Earth, you can find all kinds of information online, including a preview of it on our channel. Are there any upcoming games that you want folks to know about that Greater Than Games is working on right now?
So we have the starter kit for the RPG and 2 one-shot expansions, but I believe that is going to be the next Kickstarter that we launch, is for the core rule book with all the character creation rules and game running rules for the Sentinels RPG. You should look for that in 2019.
Great. Thank you so much for all of you watching at home, and thank you, Matthew, for taking the time to talk with me.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Cardboard Herald. As always, everything we do is ad-free and audience-supported. If you'd like to help keep it that way, find the Patreon link at the top of our webpage, cardboardherald.com. We have several levels of support with various rewards. If you enjoyed the show, we do a whole bunch of other stuff, including reviews, interviews, and recommendations across writing, podcasts, and video. You can find that on our YouTube channel or by visiting any of our social media or our website. So with that out of the way, thank you again for listening to the Cardboard Herald.